Excuse my gross legs, but here's the machine put together. At first I thought it wasn't working, but it was just a breaker problem. So it worked. Yay! And I have my pieces of bone here that I'm gonna end up carving down, or at least try to see how well this works. So just give me a moment. I'm gonna set up and we'll start recording and we'll see how this does. You see, it's been making a little bit of weight. I don't want to sit here and record for too long because I know that the sound is probably going to be annoying. So I'm just going to show you a little bit and then I'm going to cut to the finished product. See, it's getting down pretty low. It's getting to where I need it to be. I'm going to go ahead and fast track it right now, and then that way you can see the finished product whenever I'm finished. You don't have to sit here watching me. Alright? I'll be back with you in a second. As you can see, I finally finished. I grounded them down as close as I could. I'm not sure if you can see that very well. I got them as flat as I could. There's still a little arch, but they still fit pretty snugly together. And then I grinded down the corners that didn't match mostly. There's still a little bit more, but I mean, I can just grind it down after I put the resin epoxy in and set it, and then I can start carving from there. But yeah, this is gonna be the scales. This is the scales to the handle to the knife. And we're almost there. Well, just for one of them. The next one's gonna be different. But yeah, stay tuned and we'll be covering that here shortly. The machine overall did what it should do. I mean, it doesn't have as much power as I figured it would, but I mean, it was pretty cheap online, so I can't really argue about that. And I'm not using a very coarse grade of sandpaper, so it did take longer. I didn't even remember to change out the sandpaper grade, but you live, you learn, you lose, you learn again. Yeah. Well, all right, let's flash forward and then we'll start setting the resin epoxy, and then we'll put the clamps on, and then from there we'll just wait it out. Take a look. This is that pile. All of this is just from that one piece of bone from both sides. It's only from one job. So I'm gonna have to for sure hook up the shop back to that machine, even though it doesn't really capture a lot of it. And just so you know, I am protected from particulates. If I wasn't, that would do a number to my sinuses and my respiratory. So keep safe. All right, I showed you earlier, I already ground down the scales that I'm going to be using for the first handle. They fit pretty snug together. I mean, there might be a little variation in both sides, but I'm not too worried about that. I also am going to set the other handle that I'm going to use out of this poured out water buffalo horn. I'm going to need to sand it before I set it so it actually grips the resin epoxy. I'm not sure exactly if this is going to work exactly the way I want it to, but we're going to see how it works out. I bought this little container because it happened to fit perfectly in there, and I need most of the resin epoxy to be at the end of this handle anyway. So we're going to see how this works out. So here's my resin. My resin, my hardener. Here's my mixing cup. It is marked with the measurements. It says that it's accurate, but I'm not too sure because it has the same increment between every ounce, regardless of how fat it's getting at the top. So I don't think it's going to be exact, but we'll see what happens. I also have some food coloring right here because I don't want it to be clear, just in case it does. I do have to take off some of the material to make it the shape, and it might get exposed at some point, and I don't want just random clear epoxy showing, so I'd rather have like some kind of color. I'm not sure exactly. I think I might go red. I'm a big fan of red. I was going to do blue for the other handle. That way it's a blue fist. That way his friend Johnny doesn't carry around a black fist. That would be, yeah. But yeah. I'm going to go ahead and start mixing these together in the cup. I'm going to stir them for what it says. I need to stir them for about 3 to 5 minutes and then add the color. So we're going to do that right now. I also have these clamps here to clamp it down together. I have this tape to tape it, because what I'm first going to do is I'm going to coat it with my resin epoxy here and on both sides first, and then I'm going to clamp it, and then I'm going to tape it down. I'm going to tape it down and then clamp it and tape the bottom as well. Then I'm going to fill the crevices with resin epoxy. That way everything's completely submerged and the epoxy is completely in there. And then once it's been clamped, I'm going to let it sit for 24 hours, let it cure. Same thing with this. I'm going to sand it down real quick. I'm going to do that. I just need to sand it down so it's rough and ready. So this one's actually smooth. You can tell this one's been this has been buffed out. Obviously, you can tell because it's super shiny and smooth. Oh, I done knocked everything over. It's kind of windy out here too, so hopefully the wind doesn't pick up all of a sudden. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna sand this down real quick so it loses that glossy finish shine, because I need to grasp hold of this water buffalo horn. This doesn't take too long. Okay. Trying to get it to lose that lustery shine, because that's how I know I've gotten down far enough where it'll start grasping a hold of it. Okay. All right. That should be good. As you can see, it lost its little lustery shine. It's real rough around the edges now. You got that ashy kind of look. Maybe need to do the tips a little more. Okay, that should be good enough. And so this has already been done. We're gonna do the clear one last. The black one's gonna go last. The first one we're gonna do is what I'm concentrate mostly on is Mr. Clutches. It does have some spongy material. I'm not sure if you can actually see it very well. It's like the marrowy, spongy material that's in between the bone. There's a little left on both sides of this. I'm gonna try to clear up as much as I can of it. So I do have a pocket knife. I can just scoop it out. I mean, probably be better to leave some of it on there, so because I know it'll absorb that epoxy and it'll set a lot better. But it's pretty brittle anyway, so it's not gonna get like too much of a grab. I'm gonna take this sandpaper. I'm gonna make sure the inside, because I mean I did sand it down both sides, but it didn't get sand down on the actual inside where the marrow would be. I'm just gonna give it a quick sanding. That way everything is nice and rough, so I can get that good. I want it to bind very well. I don't want any falling apart of any type. You know, hopefully if I do this right, it should set pretty hard. So I'm gonna have to carve it afterwards and then drill a hole out to put the blade into. Hopefully this is not too fine of a graded sandpaper. I didn't have time to go looking through all my stuff to find the more heavier grit, but this should be alright as long as I get a rough surface on it. So we'll see what happens. Okay, now that's done. Make sure I have them lined up on the right sides, because I grinded them down together. When I finished grinding both of them, I put them together and I grinded out the outside so they match and they are true in most of the edges. So I just want to make sure that I've got the edges trued out as much as I can. Let's do like this. Okay. So I don't know if you could see, but they're pretty true to each other. It might be like, I think they bowed a little bit from being hot, and I put it under cold water to wash off the excess dust. I think it caused it to bow just a tad bit, but the clamps that I'm going to be using should solve that problem. Okay, we're going to set these aside. Now let's mix up some resin. This is the first time of me using this resin, so hopefully I don't want to make too less of it, so I'm probably going to do a good amount. I guess it'll be 6 ounces altogether. But let's see how much I can get out of this. Alright. So first, let's pour the. Oh, there's. Well, at least you know they're sealed. This one. Let's seal this real quick. Make sure I unseal both of them so I don't have to be like rushing to try to get the tops off of the other one before it sets. Okay. This is the hardener. Set this aside. Okay. Yeah. Equal parts, so we're gonna go buy the cup. I'm not sure if this cup, it says that they're approximate measurements, but I don't think they are, because it would be a straight, this cup would be straight up and down, and wouldn't be bowed out, and there wouldn't be the same amount of space in between each one. Okay, so I already got some on my hands. I usually would, I can't put my gloves, or I would use gloves as well, but you know, we're just gonna have to do this the hardcore way. Okay. I'm gonna do 6 ounces all together. Go all the way up to 6. Okay, so we're supposed to mix this for 3 to 5 minutes. Usually I'd be worried about making bubbles because they say that you need to let them go up and down to make strong strokes without agitating it too much. Keep the bubbles. I mean, I also have a torch I was going to bring out, but I mean, I'm not trying to do something you can see through, or I'll use a torch to bring the bubbles up to the top and pop. So I mean, I'm just using this as a filler and an adhesive, so I'm not really worried about. Plus I'm going to add dye, so you won't be able to see most of the inconsistencies anyway. Trying to keep an eye on the timer I have over here. But once I get all this resin epoxy set, I mean, from here on out, it should just be basically like me starting to carve everything out. I'll start to carve the handle out to the size that I want it, and then I'll also start to carve out the other handles, you know, main shape. That way I can start putting some, you know, decorative carvings on there, hopefully. I'm not sure exactly what I'm putting on yet. I'm kind of just going with the flow. But I'm just, you know, go along with whatever I come up with. But once I get all of this set, hopefully it comes out good. And then I'll grind it down to the sizes they need to be, and then I can start carving out the details in them. And then after that, I'm going to wet sand it down with my wet sandpaper through the couple of grits that I have, and then I'm gonna buff it out, and hopefully it comes out nice and polished and clean looking. And then we'll set the blades in. And we'll hit it up with some more resin epoxy after that. And then once it sets, hopefully it sets perfectly and good and it's stable and I don't have to worry about anything else. Then we can grind down what's left of the pins, and then I'll repolish it, and hopefully they come out good, and hopefully my friends are happy with the product that I have made for them. So they know my appreciation for them helping me out in a time of need. And I hope to go deliver it them in person. I'm getting up on the mark to where I can start to pour the epoxy. Actually, I'm at the here, almost there. And give it a couple more seconds, and then I'm gonna drop in the color. And then I'm gonna set the epoxy. Yes, it's almost time, so I'm gonna go blue. Putting in quite a bit because I want it to be pretty dark, and I got a pretty good amount, so. Doesn't seem to be mixing very well. I'm going to go faster. Try not to agitate as much, but I guess I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna need more than that. Okay. Oh no! Don't go in there. You don't belong there. That's gonna harden, probably. Okay. Before we hit the limit. Oh yeah, it's nice and dark. Okay. Make sure I mix it nice and good. I want a strong, even color throughout. Okay. First and foremost, I'm gonna layer the inside of this so I have like a quick layer, just to have it bond together. Any excess that's gonna hang out, I'm most likely gonna grind down anyway. This is just to get the overall press fit down. Okay, it's pressed. I happen to have a rag over here. It's all gross and dirty, but whatever. Take some of this tape. Okay, the tape is mainly for the bottom, but I think I should keep it exposed for now. I'm going to tape it. First I'm going to do is tape it together. This is just packing tape. Okay. Done. Alright. Now I'm going to tape the bottom. Okay. I'll get it as sealed as I can. It doesn't look perfect, it's going to come off eventually anyway. Okay, I gotta hurry because this is going to start setting here soon. Alright, so then I'm going to start scooping in this resin epoxy. I'm going to have to pour it. Get myself something to pour on top of this little rag that I have here. Okay, let's. Come on. Trying to force it down into that hole. I'll tell as soon as it hits the bottom. Looks like it's getting in there. Go ahead and drop this. This is going to have to be filled too. Okay. I should have brought my vice grip out here, it would have helped. You need to tape over the top. Over the top. Looks like I might have lost a little bit in there. Open it back up. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm gonna have to go back over this. It seems to keep on dripping out, but okay. All right, let's take our clamps. Come on now, release. There we go. Okay. Put it on the bottom. That way it helps. Oh, that one fell off. Good enough. Well, at least it stands up now. I don't have to worry about it. Let's find a spot. Now, before this starts setting, I need to pour this into this. Okay, hopefully that stays. Alright, I poured a little too much, but it's better to have too much than too little because I don't have time to be playing around. But yeah, now all that's left is I just have to let them sit for 24 hours and cure, and then we'll come back and then I'll show you what the result is, and hopefully everything comes out good. Thank you for tuning in. Def and Gotti out.